Translator, Reverie, Editor, Henyi. This Yi Shuang was truly a person difficult to fathom. Her temperament elusive like mist drifting across a cold mountain. Yet the depth of her strength was clearly immeasurable. Because of this, Ling Han and the others had no intention of rashly drawing blades against her. An elite whose power had reached such a terrifying realm was not someone they wished to provoke lightly. Both sides continued their meal in silence. But the other patrons within the tavern no longer dared to cast even the most casual glance in their direction. Everyone present understood that one careless look could very well cost them their lives. Though beauties could entrance the heart, no one present was foolish enough to wager their life merely to steal a few glances. Hu Nu was in a foul mood. While chewing on her food, her bright and sharp eyes remained locked upon Yi Shuang. Glaring fiercely, her small mouth was pursed high in a pout, making her appear exceedingly ferocious. Shuang did not mind in the slightest. From time to time, she swept her gaze over Ling Han and Hu Nu, her eyes glimmering with interest as if studying two rare curiosities. Ling Han felt an odd sensation stirring in his mind. Where exactly had he seen this formidable woman before? From her manner, it seemed as if she had encountered him previously. Yet he could not summon even the faintest memory of her. Moreover, since she clearly coveted the treasures upon him, why had she not struck earlier? Why wait until now, when a shattering void-tier expert stood by his side? The atmosphere within the tavern turned cold and quiet. No one spoke again, each person burying themselves in their food. Before long, however, a loud clamor rose from outside. Ling Han and the others normally would not concern themselves with ordinary disturbances. But the commotion soon grew so tremendous that they could not help revealing shocked expressions. One after another, they turned their gazes toward the window. A massive procession of nearly 1,000 people was slowly advancing down the long street, clearly escorting something. At the center of this procession stood a gigantic imperial carriage, and astonishingly, the very people in the procession were the ones carrying it. The imperial carriage was truly enormous, so vast that it even exceeded the width of the street itself. As the procession advanced, the team was forced to dismantle and bulldoze the houses lining the road, clearing a path so the immense carriage could pass smoothly. Upon the carriage fluttered the flag of the Purple Moon Empire. The banner danced in the wind, grand and imposing like a symbol of imperial might. A man responsible for handling the aftermath called out loudly, "Masters of these houses, please follow me immediately to the imperial palace to receive compensation. The compensation will be 3 times the value of your homes. We will certainly not mistreat anyone." Once these words were spoken, the homeowners whose residences had just been dismantled were overjoyed. One after another, they began praising Fatima. Feng Po Yun's eyes suddenly sharpened as he stared intently toward the imperial carriage. "Let's follow it and take a look," he said immediately. "What's there to see? It's merely a junior who has been sealed away for many years." Yi Shuang interrupted casually, her gaze still fixed upon Hu Nu. "Little girl, hurry and acknowledge me as your master." The thought clearly had not left her mind. "Pah!" Hu Nu stuck out her small tongue and made a mocking face before quickly hiding behind Ling Han's back. "Little girl, one day you will obediently call me master," Yi Shuang said with a mischievous smile, her tone filled with certainty. Ling Han and Zhu Xuan hurried after Feng Po Yun, following behind the imperial carriage. As the carriage continued its path, demolishing houses along the way, it steadily made its way toward the imperial palace. "Big brother, did you discover something?" Ling Han asked. Feng Po Yun pointed toward the imperial carriage and said, "I sensed a powerful presence inside, yet at the same time, it seemed as if nothing existed at all. It is extremely strange. For someone like Feng Po Yun to describe it as powerful, it must truly be an extraordinary existence." Ling Han pondered briefly before saying, "Could it be Fatima inside?" Ma Duobao's strength was unfathomable, which seemed to fit Feng Po Yun's contradictory description of both powerful and non-existent. When the imperial carriage finally reached the gates of the imperial palace, it came to a halt. Ling Han and the others stood atop a tall building, watching the scene below. Before long, a fragrant breeze drifted past them. Yi Shuang had also arrived. Her crimson hair fluttered in the wind, enchanting like a blooming rose, breathtakingly beautiful. Beauty? Can't you stand a little further away from us? Ling Han said. This lady enjoys standing here. Can you stop me? Yi Shuang stretched lazily, and with that single motion, her full and impressive figure was displayed completely, especially those surging breasts that seemed ready to leap free, causing any onlooker to blush uncontrollably. Ugly monster, Hunyu said resentfully. Fatima came out. Ling Han suddenly exclaimed in astonishment. He saw Ma Duobao walking out from within the imperial palace. This meant the person inside the imperial carriage was not the fat man. The current Fatima was entirely different from before. He wore a dragon robe and a flat-top imperial crown, exuding an unexpected aura of majesty. However, when paired with his perfectly round belly, the imposing presence of this emperor was instantly diminished. Behind Ma Duobao followed a large group of civil and military officials. Ma Duobao glanced toward the place where Ling Han and the others stood and revealed a faint smile, clearly having discovered them. Yet he made no move toward them. Instead, he raised his voice and said loudly, "Welcome the Lunar King! Welcome the Lunar King!" The officials shouted in unison. The imperial carriage opened. Yet what emerged from within was not a person, but a casket. It was a half-transparent jade casket. Inside it, one could vaguely see a girl lying in a red dress. Though her features could not be clearly discerned, Ling Han felt puzzled. Ma Duobao had personally brought the civil and military officials to welcome a dead person? No, Feng Poyun had said he sensed a powerful presence. That meant the person within the casket was likely not dead. Yet at the same time, she seemed non-existent. Was it because she lay sealed within the casket? Ma Duobao walked forward and said solemnly, "Open the casket." This was somewhat terrifying. Were they grave robbers? 4 elderly men stepped forward. They wore tall white hats and long white beards, their appearance resembling that of special priests performing sacred rites. The 4 surrounded the jade casket and simultaneously extended their hands, forming intricate seals directed at the casket. As they moved their hands, flashes of light streamed into the jade casket. Vein-like patterns immediately began to glow across the surface of the casket. The entire casket grew brighter and brighter, becoming increasingly transparent. Ling Han could now clearly see the girl lying inside the casket. She appeared to be no more than 20 years old. Her eyes were tightly shut, as though she were merely asleep. Her beauty was breathtaking, her lips red like blazing fire, her hair black as ink, and her skin snow white, forming a striking contrast. However, the interior of the casket seemed filled with some mysterious liquid that flowed endlessly, as if alive. The sight was eerily unsettling. After a long while, Ling Han once again felt a powerful presence emanating from within the casket, but it vanished almost immediately. He was astonished. Martial artists constantly emitted powerful aura unless they intentionally suppressed it. Yet if she had suppressed it completely, then no aura should appear at all. Under normal circumstances, her presence should be continuously perceptible. Too strange! After the 4 priests continued forming hand seals for some time, the jade casket became completely filled with glowing vein-like patterns, dazzling with resplendent brilliance. Ma Duobao stepped forward again and spoke loudly. "Welcome the Lunar King! Welcome the Lunar King!" The military officials shouted once more. The 4 priests lifted the lid of the casket. A substance difficult to perceive with the naked eye surged out from within it, as if water had evaporated into mist before swiftly dispersing. The lid of the casket was removed and set aside. Pa! The person within the casket suddenly opened both eyes. Translator Reverie Henyi. A bone-piercing chill surged through Ling Han's body the instant he laid eyes upon it, as if icy needles were pricking every inch of his skin. With his keen eyesight, he could clearly discern that the jade casket before him was unquestionably an ancient relic that had slumbered beneath the earth for untold ages. Even the clumps of dirt clinging to its surface had not been fully brushed away, and those grains of soil were at least several tens of millennia old. The casket had remained tightly sealed all this time, only opening moments ago. Only then had that mysterious substance flowed outward. In other words, the person lying within the casket should have been buried for exactly the same span of time as the casket itself, several tens of millennia. This young girl had died countless years ago, yet now her eyes had suddenly opened once more. Who could witness such a scene and not feel their scalp tingle with dread? It's this substance that can seal the body's life force without allowing even the slightest trace of it to leak out, Feng Poyun said, his gaze blazing with intensity. Only then did Ling Han come to an understanding. No wonder someone who had been buried for tens of millennia could suddenly open her eyes again. So that was the reason. Wrong, wrong, not without a shred of leakage. Shuang shook her head lightly. That substance is called time liquid. It can indeed be used to seal living creatures, drastically slowing the passage of time for them and allowing them to exist for an extremely long duration relative to their limited lifespan. However, it merely slows time. It does not halt it entirely. Life force still fades away, only at an incredibly slow rate. Depending on the quality of the time liquid, the passage of time can be slowed anywhere from 100 times to 100,000 times. Ling Han and the others were all struck dumb with astonishment. Even if it slowed time by only 100 times, wouldn't a shattering void tier expert be able to live for up to 100,000 years? Of course, living in such a manner was no different from being dead, because both flesh and divine sense would remain without sensation. How do you know so much? Could it be that you're also some ancient monster like this? Ling Han asked. Old monster? Shuang instantly exploded like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Her eyes flared as she shouted, "Damn, brat! Are your eyes broken? Where exactly do you see this lady being old? Look at this skin, fine and smooth, and look at these breasts. Do they droop even a little? And this butt, round and perky." Who knew hurriedly covered her own eyes, shaking her head vigorously as she cried, "Dirty, too dirty. It's polluting New's pure heart." Ling Han now realized that Shuang's explanation made perfect sense. That was why he could only occasionally sense the faint aura coming from the person inside the casket. It wasn't because the person deliberately suppressed her aura. It was because her flow of time had slowed to such an extent that the aura she emitted would only be perceived after a long interval. Just as they were speaking, the girl inside the jade casket suddenly rose to her feet and stretched languidly. In that instant, the curves of her body were displayed without restraint, brimming with a seductive charm that caused many of the military officials present to blush fiercely. Some hurriedly turned their faces away, while others covered their eyes. For a moment, the atmosphere became extremely awkward. "Beloved General," Ma Duobao called out with a smile. The girl in the casket glanced at Ma Duobao. A trace of astonishment appeared on her face as she said uncertainly, "My emperor? It is indeed your emperor." Ma Duobao nodded. The girl froze for a moment before suddenly bursting into loud laughter. Tears streamed down her face as she repeatedly slapped the edge of the jade casket. "Ha! I'm dying of laughter! I'm dying of laughter! Your Majesty, how did you end up becoming so disgusting?" The expressions of the surrounding military officials twisted strangely as they desperately struggled to suppress their laughter. Ma Duobao coughed dryly and said with a solemn expression, "Is this emperor not still dignified and imposing, cutting quite the heroic figure?" The girl inside the casket continued laughing until tears flowed uncontrollably. After quite some time, she finally managed to speak again. "Have Heavenly Astral King and Earth Overturning King seen your Majesty's current appearance yet?" "Lunar King, beloved General, give this emperor some face. There are still outsiders present." Ma Duobao said helplessly. The girl in the casket, Lunar King, leapt lightly out of the jade casket. Her gaze swept briefly toward Ling Han and the others before she immediately withdrew it and muttered to herself, "Since your Majesty has turned into such a damned fatty, then what about this king's appearance?" With a casual swipe of her hand, frigid chi gathered instantly in the air, condensing into an ice mirror before her. "Ah!" She immediately let out a sharp scream. In the next instant, boundless fury erupted from her as she roared, "Your Majesty! What exactly did you promise this king?" What did I promise?" Ma Duobao appeared utterly innocent. "You said that when this king reappeared again, her appearance would remain completely unchanged. But look now, this king is clearly 2 years older. 2 whole years." Lunar King looked furious enough to kill someone. Ma Duobao waved his hand and said, This emperor truly did not anticipate that. I simply slept a little too long. If that earthquake hadn't awakened this emperor first, perhaps this emperor would have continued sleeping for several tens of millennia more. Then wouldn't it be possible that this king would have awakened as an old lady? Lunar King became frantic. You damned fatty! This king will beat you up for daring to make this king age 2 years. Her strength was truly terrifying. She immediately charged toward Ma Duo Bao. Hong! A horrifying aura erupted outward. The entire imperial city instantly became incomparably cold. Snowflakes began to drift down from the sky, and upon closer inspection, every single snowflake carried martial intent branded within it, each marked with glowing vein-like patterns. If even a single snowflake landed upon someone, even heaven-tier elites would undoubtedly perish. Lunar King, have you gone mad? Ma Duobao hurriedly raised his hand toward the sky, forcing the falling snowflakes to reverse their direction. Otherwise, if those snowflakes reached the ground, countless living beings would surely suffer catastrophic disaster. You don't know that women go crazy easily? Lunar King roared furiously. Return this king her youth. She unleashed a violent strike, the terrifying might of a Shattering Void Tier expert erupting completely. 9th layer of the Shattering Void Tier. Feng Poyun murmured in a low voice, his expression becoming extremely solemn. This was the absolute pinnacle of martial arts across the vast lands, the ultimate summit attainable by humanity. Beyond this realm, one could either suppress their cultivation or be forcibly expelled from the world. Ma Duobao merely defended without counterattacking. Each movement and gesture he executed was majestic and imposing, radiating the overwhelming presence of an emperor. All right, Lunar King. There are guests present, he tried to persuade her. But Lunar King had no intention of stopping. Unless you allow this king to kick your fat face twice, this king will not calm her anger. Ma Duobao forced an awkward smile. Beloved general, this emperor is still the ruler of an empire after all. Wouldn't it be somewhat inappropriate to do that? Then return this king her youth. Lunar King shouted angrily. You're only 2 years older. Now you're even more beautiful. Ma Duobao hurriedly exclaimed. Lunar King immediately stopped attacking and asked, This king is even more beautiful? Of course, Ma Duobao said solemnly. Then he turned to the military officials and declared, All my beloved subjects, is Lunar King not even more beautiful now? Yes, the military officials nodded hurriedly one after another. Lunar King gazed at her reflection in the ice mirror for a long moment before smiling brightly. This king also feels that she is more beautiful now. Ma Duobao finally let out a long breath of relief. That crisis had at last been resolved. He then turned his gaze toward Ling Han and waved his hand. Tanned brother, since you have already arrived, why not come over and gather together? Ling Han looked toward Feng Poyun, who gave a slight nod. After all, they had originally planned to meet Ma Duobao. The 4 of them leapt down from above, while Yi Shuang also hopped down casually as if she were completely familiar with the place, walking alongside them. Fatima, hey, respects to your majesty. Ling Han cupped his hands in greeting. Stop. You are not subjects of my empire. There is no need for excessive courtesy, Ma Duobao said with a smile. His gaze lingered briefly upon Feng Poyun before settling firmly upon Yi Shuang. His dragon robe fluttered as vein-like patterns glowed faintly upon it, as though he might strike at any moment.